Hi, it's Jo and Steve from Freshagenda, and for our first video back for 2020, Steve, we're just going to take a quick tour of take 5 of some big issues we're looking at.
Yeah, starting with European skim milk powder and associated issues. We issued a paper in December, and we've updated that work as part of our quarterly outlook, which went to subscribers last week. And the big issues, I guess, we're watching here are those three. You know, what's happening in the milk growth, product mix, and then the demand side. All coming back to, you know, the key challenge is how will demand respond to higher prices?
Absolutely.
Now it's going to flow through, and the European share of that trade.
Yeah.
What we have got is a little model that we developed out of the DTS, which has been sent to subscribers with this monthly edition. And what that does is allows users to vary some of the key drivers of those scenarios. So growth in total demand, trade shares that Europe might win against the other major exporters, European milk growth, product mix, and ultimately domestic use. So that gives an ability to see what happens to values going forward.
Sure. Okay, so we're staying in Europe.
Staying in Europe, a really interesting thing is how weather is going to develop. So the projection right now is that Europe's going to have a fairly continuing mild winter. It's been mild so far. Just showing here the weather forecast charts from their weather agency, and how your left-hand side is temperature, right-hand side is rainfall against average, and you can see how it stays quite warm through into April, even May. Rain coming back into the ordinary terms in about May, but that'll be an interesting development because certainly they've benefited from mild weather, and we've seen a kick up in production in the major players, which you'll talk about soon.
Sure.
I guess across the ditch.
From us.
From us.
New Zealand's, it's a little bit more of a lottery with weather in New Zealand at the moment.
There's more talk about the dryness, and this is not the usual drought story, but it has started to dry out quite a bit. Weeks without rain in some areas, and see the top part's really quite red, and some of those eastern South Island regions as well. But we saw November's numbers come out a little bit above last year. Last year was a bit of an anomaly in any event for November. And as you've commented, it'll be interesting to see how we go against what are pretty easy to beat comparables.
Yeah, it really tailed off at the end of last season. So coming into autumn, those comparatives will be very easy to beat.
Yeah, but our latest view is we don't see production changing much over the full season. Up in China,
we're all over the place. Yeah,
we are. But this is just things we're watching. I guess this is a major developing story still. Is the ASF issue easing? I mean, we've seen an announcement from the Chinese government that the herd grew again in December, and that's a growth of 7% since September. So it looks like pig numbers are rebuilding.
Yes.
However, the other side of the story is what's happening to protein supplies, and they're getting a lot worse. So the government's drawing down more heavily on stocks of frozen meat.
And that's why we've seen that drop in prices. They've tried to push those prices a bit lower for consumers.
Yeah, and it's one of the many things that media are speculating is putting heat on the Chinese government, the rising food prices, and they need to alleviate this.
Sure.
There's a huge amount of import growth in other proteins, beef, pork from other regions, so that's a developing story.
But it looks like there might be more demand coming through for feed whey, and that leads us into the next development that we're watching.
It does. And today's an important day, right? Supposedly. So the US and China are supposed to be signing the Part 1 trade deal today,
yes.
US time. But they've already said quite clearly that the $360 billion in tariffs that they've imposed on China will stay in place. Aren't going to be lifted until after the election. Well, yeah, that's the talk.
It doesn't seem any firm timelines around review and phase 2. But
what are they saying about US purchases of, China's purchases of US product?
Yeah, well, there's been some numbers that there's going to be a total of 200 billion US purchases that China have committed to, and about 40 billion of that will be in agriculture, but doesn't look to be a lot more detail at the moment, Steve, about what form those purchases will take. So we'll wait and see what the specifics are.
Okay, your chart of the week, what have you got?
Chart of the week, well, it's been so long since we've done a video and I couldn't just choose one. We're back in Europe again. So the chart on the right is just our European commodity milk value, Steve. It's based on European prices and product mix. And you can see there that it's been quite high over the last couple of months, which is giving a fairly positive signal to European producers coming into spring. We've already said it's a very mild winter that they're facing, pretty good conditions, and we're starting to see that milk growth just kick up a bit in some of those major producers.
And stay a bit more consistently above the line.
That's exactly right. So it'll be an important one to watch.
Yeah, that combined with the weather outlook and that important product mix scenario. So good one.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all from us. Thanks for watching. Bit scratchy, but it'll get better. We'll see you next week.